Hello students, good morning to everyone. This is I am Bujjubabu, working as a chemistry lecturer in Vignan Cooperative Junior College, Vatlamudi. So in this video, I am going to explain about the chapter of solutions. So in previous video, I gave the information about the introduction part of the solution and the classification of the solution, and next one, how the concentration of the solution can be expressed by different ways. So in previous video, I gave the total information about the previous information about the solution and the classification of the solution and the concentration terms of the solution. You know that very well. What is meant by solution? First of all, solution is a homogeneous mixture which consisting of two or more components, that is known as solution. So in case of intermediate level, we have to study the only binary solution. You know that very well. What is meant by binary solution? Binary solution means if the solution contain only two components, that are binary solution. And next one, the solutions can be classified based on the physical state of the solvent and solute. So in intermediate level, we have to discuss about the concept of the binary solution. That means the given solution contain only two components. First one is solvent and the second one is solute. So solvent is a major component present in the given solution. Solute is a minor component present in the given solution. So basing on the physical state of the solvent and solute, these solutions can be classified into different ways: solid type of solution, liquid type of solution, and a gaseous type of solution. Our next concept is how can we express the concentration of the given solution. Okay, so to express the concentration of the given solution, we have to learn many of the definitions in the last video, that are mass percentage, volume percentage, and mass by volume percentage, and a ppm. And next one, molarity, normality, and molality, and mole fraction, and finally formality. So in objective pattern also, the main important concentration terms of solutions are especially molarity. You know that what is meant by molarity? It is denoted by symbol capital M. Molarity can be defined as number of moles of solute present in 1 liter volume of solution. So in case of normality, it is denoted by the symbol capital N, number of gram equivalents of solute present in 1 liter volume of solution. So come to the next definition, molality. Molality can be defined, it is a number of moles of solute present in 1 kilogram mass of the solvent. And next important concentration term is mole fraction. Mole fraction can be defined as the number of the ratio between the number of moles of one component to the total number of moles of all components of the solution. So these four factors are very important in case of objective pattern. So in this video, once we look at the contents, what are present in this one. First one, problems on concentration terms. So in previous video, we learned about the definitions and formulas of the some important concentration terms. So in this video, we are going to learn about some problems on concentration terms like important molarity, normality, molality, and mole fraction. And next one is solubility of solids in liquids. Here another important new topic for you, that is solubility. Solubility of solid in liquid. How the solids can be dissolved in liquid and what are the factors affecting for the solubility of solid in liquid. So that is a very important concept. Effect of the temperature and effect of the pressure. So what are the factors which are involved in the solubility of solid in a liquid. And the next important concept is solubility of gas in liquid. So this is another case for the solubility concept. Solubility of a gas in liquid. So how the gases can dissolve in the liquid and what are the factors affecting for the dissolution of the gas in liquids. And next one, applications of Henry's law. Applications of Henry's law. Here Henry's law is very important law. For many of the questions came from an objective pattern from this Henry's law. So Henry's law belongs to the solubility of gas in liquid. When the gas dissolved in a liquid, the scientist Henry gave a relation between the the solubility of the gas and vapor pressure of the gas. So that is known about the applications of Henry's law and the definition of Henry's law. So what are the applications we have to use in our regular life? So this is about the applications of Henry's law. So look at these some problems on concentration terms. The first problem is in a 0.1 mole fraction of glucose solution, find percent weight by weight of water in this sample. So here look at the problem, what is given and what we have to solve. So in the problem 0.1 mole fraction of glucose solution is given. So in this one we have to find the weight by weight percent, that means mass percentage of water in this sample solution. So you know that very well what is meant by mole fraction. I already gave the information about mole fraction. So mole fraction is nothing but the ratio between the number of moles of one component to the number of moles of all components of the solution. First we have to write the concept including in this problem is, so what is given here, 0.1 mole fraction of 0.1 mole fraction of glucose solution, mole fraction of glucose solution. So that means 0.1 mole fraction of glucose solution means, so the number of moles of glucose, number of moles indicated by the symbol N, number of moles of glucose formula C6H12O6, number of moles of glucose is equal to 0.1. So it is a glucose solution. Glucose solution means glucose in addition with water molecule. Therefore, number of moles of water is equal to 0.9. So glucose solution means it consisting of glucose plus water. So this is a glucose solution. So therefore the number of moles present in that glucose solution, number of moles of glucose is equal to 0.1. Therefore number of moles of water is equal to 0.9. So how can we define the number of moles of water is as a 0.9? So in the concept of the mole fraction we learned about the concept. So in the given the dilute solution, mole fraction of any two components is equal to unity. Mole fraction of any two components is equal to unity. So basing on this point, if the given solution, if the number of moles of glucose is equal to 0.1, therefore the number of moles of water is equal to 0.9 basing on this equation. The sum of the mole fraction of two components presenting in a dilute solution, it must be unity. So therefore now we have to find out here, find the weight by weight, that is mass percentage of water in the sample. Therefore weight by weight percentage, that is mass percentage of water present in that solution. Therefore from the definition of the mass percentage, mass of that component by total mass of the solution into 100. Therefore mass percent of water is equal to 0.9 into mass of the water 18 by. So therefore mass of the water plus mass of the glucose 0.1 into what is the mass of glucose, 180 into 100. So this is equal to approximately 47.367. We can also write this one 47.37. This is a accurate value. So this is a solving of the problem. So in that problem given 0.1 mole fraction of glucose solution is given. So from this concept we have to calculate number of moles of glucose and water and apply the formula of the mass percentage of the solution. So come to the next problem. So next problem, what is the next problem in that one? So therefore we have to calculate it here. What is the concentration? And mass percentage, weight by weight of 5.6 volume hydrogen peroxide solution. So molar mass of hydrogen peroxide is 34 and density is 1 gram per milliliter. So what is given in that problem and what we have to calculate it here. So once look at the problem, what is the concentration? So concentration means we have to calculate the molarity. So molarity or nullarity or molality, mole fraction, all these are concentration terms. Therefore, what we have to gain here in this problem, 5.6 volume, 5.6 volume hydrogen peroxide, that is a H2O2 solution. 5.6 volume hydrogen peroxide solution is given. So from this one we have to easily calculate the molarity. So in case of hydrogen peroxide, molarity can be defined as its volume strength, its volume strength by 11.2. So this is the formula for calculation of molarity in case of hydrogen peroxide. So what is the volume strength of hydrogen peroxide is equal to 5.6 by 11.2. 5.6 by 11.2. This is equal to 0.5. This is equal to 0.5. So this is the concentration. The concentration of the hydrogen peroxide can be expressed in terms of molarity. So next we have to calculate concentration, after then mass percentage. Weight by weight percent means mass percentage. So mass percentage of the hydrogen peroxide also calculated in this problem. So what are the given values? The density of the solution given, that is equal to D is equal to 1 gram per milliliter. Therefore, if the density of the solution given, there is a formula for the calculation of the molarity. So what is that formula? Molarity M is equal to 10 dx by 10 dx percentage, 10 dx by molecular weight, 10 dx by molecular weight. Here x percentage means the percentage of the mass. So therefore here what is the molarity? M is equal to M value from 0.5 into 10 into what is the density value? Density value is 1 into x percentage means weight by weight percent. So therefore by molecular weight. So what is the molecular weight of hydrogen peroxide? That value is already given. What is that? Is equal to 34. This is equal to 34. Therefore weight by weight percent or mass percentage of hydrogen peroxide is equal to 0.5 into 34 by 10. So this is equal to 17 times 5 times. So this is equal to 1.70. So this is the concentration values and mass percentage of the given 5 volume hydrogen peroxide solution. So come to the next problem. So in that problem what is given? Once look at here. How much volume of 0.1 normal sodium hydroxide will neutralize 10 ml of 0.1 normal phosphonic acid. Phosphonic acid. You know that what is meant by phosphonic acid. Phosphonic acid is nothing but phosphorus acid. Phosphorus acid. So here we have to calculate the volume. This is a neutralization reaction. So the reaction takes place between the sodium hydroxide. So sodium hydroxide is equal to NaOH plus sodium hydroxide react with phosphonic acid. So phosphonic acid means phosphorus acid, that is H3PO3. It gives rise to, so what will be formed here? It is a neutralization reaction, elimination of water molecule plus H2O came out. Therefore, it gives NaH2PO3. So this is a neutralization reaction. So for sodium hydroxide here given. So what is the normality value? This is termed as N1 value. N1 is equal to 0.1. We have to calculate the V1 value for one volume of the sodium hydroxide. So in case of phosphonic acid, what are the given values are? Phosphonic acid normality taken as N2. So that is equal to 0.1. And volume also given, volume of phosphonic acid is equal to 10 ml. So by applying a dilution formula, M1V1 is equal to M2V2 in case of molarity. So in case of normality, we have to write the same formula. N1V1 is equal to N2V2. N1V1 is equal to N2V2. From this, we have to calculate the value of V1. This is equal to N2V2 by N2V2 by N1. So this is equal to, what is the value of N2 value? 0.1 into 10 by, what is the value of N1? This is equal to 0.1. 0.1 cancel. So this gives the 10 value. So volume V1 is equal to 10 ml. Here by applying dilution formula for normality. So come to the next problem. If 100 ml of a solution contains 10 grams of sulfuric acid, normality of the solution is 100 ml of a solution contains 100 ml of a solution given. In that 100 ml of solution, 10 grams of sulfuric acid is present, and find the normality of the solution. Normality of the solution. So we know that what is the formula for normality? Normality N is equal to number of moles of solute, number of gram equivalents of solute. Here N2 indicates number of moles. Here in case of normality we have to write here number of gram equivalents of solute. Number of gram equivalents. Number of gram equivalents of solute. Number of gram equivalents of solute present in 1 liter volume of solution. 1 liter volume of solution. Therefore, normality can be written as the number of gram equivalents number of gram equivalents of solute means weight by equivalent weight. Weight by equivalent weight into 1 by volume in liters. In milliliters it gives weight by equivalent weight into 1000 by volume in milliliters. So therefore, what is the weight value for given in this problem? What is the weight? 10 grams of sulfuric acid. And what is the equivalent weight of sulfuric acid? So sulfuric acid formula is H2SO4. So how can we calculate the equivalent weight? So in previous class we learned about how can we calculate the equivalent weight of acid or equivalent weight of base or equivalent weight of salt. So in case of sulfuric acid it is acid, therefore we have to calculate equivalent weight is equal to its molecular weight. Molecular weight by, for acid we have to calculate basicity. We have to calculate basicity. So what is the molecular weight of sulfuric acid? Nothing but 98. Sulfuric acid molecular weight 98. So what is the basicity of sulfuric acid? Basicity means number of replaceable hydrogen atoms from acid. So in sulfuric acid 2 hydrogens are present, therefore its basicity is 2. 98 by 2 is equal to 49. So therefore the equivalent weight of sulfuric acid is equal to 49. So 49 into 1000 by, so what is the volume given in the problem? That is 100 ml. Therefore 100 ml. So cancel here 2 zeros. Therefore 100 by 49. So this is equal to 2.04. 2.04 normal. So this is the calculation of the normality for given solution. And come to the next problem. In that problem, concentrated nitric acid used in the laboratory work 68% nitric acid by mass in aqueous solution. What should be the molarity? What should be the molarity such a sample of acid if the density of the solution is given 1.504 gram milliliter inverse. So once thoroughly read the problem, what is given and what we have to calculate it. So in that given equation, so the concentration of nitric acid in the laboratory purpose 68% nitric acid by mass. That means the given value is X percentage, it is given as 68%. It is given as 68%. Okay. And next one, what should be the molarity? So for given value of density of the solution, density D is equal to 1.504 gram milliliter inverse. And we have to calculate the molarity value capital M. What is the molarity value for M? So there is a two formulas for molarity. If the number of moles of solute present in 1 liter volume of solution, that is one formula for molarity. And second one is if the percentage of the compound is given and the density of the solution is given, then we have to apply the formula, this formula, that is equal to 10 dx by molecular weight. 10 dx, x percentage means mass percentage, 10 dx by molecular weight of that compound. Therefore this one we have to write 10. So what is the density value? Density value is given 1.504 into x percentage means 68%, 68 by molecular weight. So what is the molecular weight of nitric acid? Nitric acid formula means nitric acid formula HNO3. This molecular weight is equal to, for hydrogen mass 1, nitrogen 14 plus for oxygen 3 into 16. 3 into 16, this is equal to 1 plus 14 plus here 48. Okay, 48 plus 15, 63. Therefore molecular weight of nitric acid is equal to 63. So simplification, it gives therefore it gives approximately 16.23. So come to the next problem. So look at the problem. The mole fraction of ethylene glycol C2H6O2 in aqueous solution contain 20% ethylene glycol by mass. So this is a given solution is ethylene glycol solution. Then find out the mole fraction of ethylene glycol in aqueous solution contain 20% of ethylene glycol by mass is. So this problem is belongs to mole fraction concept. You know that the formula for the mole fraction is, mole fraction can be defined as moles of the component by moles of the all components of the solution. So here given solution is 20%, given solution is 20% of ethylene glycol C2H6O2, ethylene glycol by mass, ethylene glycol by mass. So 20% of ethylene glycol by mass means the solution consisting of 20 grams of ethylene glycol, 20 grams of ethylene glycol C2H6O2 and 80 grams of water, 80 grams of water, and resultant solution mass is 100 grams. 20% means we have to take the mass of that solution is around 100, percentage means 100. So among the 100, 20%, 20 grams equal to ethylene glycol and 80 grams equal to water. So first we have to calculate the number of moles. Number of moles of ethylene glycol C2H6O2, it gives rise to number of moles means weight by gram molecular weight. So 20 by, what is the gram molecular weight? Weight of ethylene glycol, that is C2H6O2. C2H6O2 for this one, 2 into carbon mass 12 plus 6 into hydrogen for 1 plus 2 into for oxygen 16. This is equal to 24 plus 6 plus 32. Okay. So this is equal to 30, 32, this is equal to 62. Therefore molecular weight of ethylene glycol is 62. So 22 by 62, this is equal to how much? 0.322. So number of moles of ethylene glycol is equal to 0.322. Then we have to calculate number of moles of water. So number of moles of water is equal to weight by gram molecular weight. So what is the weight of water? 80 grams. 80 grams by molecular weight of water is, we know that very well, that is 18. So 80 by 18 means it 5 times. 10 5 is 50, 5 40, 80. So we have to calculate the next mole fraction of, so what we have to calculate in the problem? The mole fraction of ethylene glycol. So to the calculation of mole fraction of ethylene glycol, first we have to calculate the number of moles of ethylene glycol and the number of moles of water. Therefore, mole fraction of ethylene glycol C2 H6O2 is equal to number of moles of ethylene glycol C2 H6O2 by number of moles of ethylene glycol C2 H6O2 plus number of moles of water. So what are the number of moles of ethylene glycol? 0.322 by 0.322 plus 5. This is equal to 0.322 by 5.322. So it gives the final value 0.067. So 0.067. So this is about the problem for mole fraction. So come to the next concept for the new topic after the completion of the concentration terms. This is a new topic for you, that is solubility. So in solution chapter, the first concept is the definition and classification and concentration terms of solution, that is the part 1. Next part 2 is the concept of solubility. So what is meant by solubility? So look at the definition for solubility. The maximum amount of solute that can be dissolved in the 100 grams of solvent at a specified temperature is known as the solubility. We know that very well. The two components are present in the given solution, that are solute and solvent. Solvent is the major one and solute is the minor one. So how can we define the solubility of a given solution? It means the maximum amount of solute that can be dissolved in 100 grams of solvent at a specified temperature. At a particular temperature, how much amount of solute can be dissolved in 100 grams of solvent, that is known as the solubility of that particular solution. Okay. Next one, solubility of solids and liquids. Next, in this intermediate level standard, we have to discuss in the view of solubility, we have to discuss only two main topics in that one. First topic is solubility of solids in liquids. So many of the live examples we have to see solubility of solids in liquids. For example, sodium chloride or potassium chloride can easily dissolve in water. So solid dissolved in liquid. And second case is solubility of gas in liquid. So this is also live example for oxygen can easily dissolve in water. So that's why many of the fishes and plants are swallow the air which is presenting in the water. So there is a concept of the solubility of gas in liquids. So in the solubility concept, there are two types of solubility cases are there. First one, solubility of solids in liquids, and second one, solubility of gas in liquids. So come to the first case, solubility of solids in liquids. Solubility of solids in liquids. So the solubility of solids in liquids can be involving, you can hear too many concepts. So for example, if you are taking the solubility of solids in liquids, for example, we have to take some live examples. For example, in case of liquid, I have to take here water is a universal solvent. I took some water in that beaker and there so water is always solvent. Water is always solvent. So in this example, solvent is water. Solvent is water. So come to the in case of solute. In case of solute, I have to take a little bit amount of sodium chloride or potassium chloride or etc. So these are all ionic solids. So when the ionic solids like sodium chloride, potassium chloride are added to the little bit amount of water, so here we noticed that the amount of sodium chloride and potassium chloride can easily dissolve in water. So look at this picture. In that picture, this indicates some blue colored molecules and yellow colored molecules. This solution consisting of mainly solvent molecules represented by blue color and solute molecules represented by yellow color. So when the solution is in progressing, some of the solvent molecules and solute molecules are present. So here the important concept is when solid solute is presenting in here, solute is presenting in a solid state. That is a very very important point. Solute is presenting in a solid state, solvent is presenting in liquid state. Solvent is presenting in liquid state. When solid solute is added to the liquid, some of the solid molecules are passing into the solution and that molecules are dissolving into the liquid solvent. Therefore, when the solid solute particles are entering into the liquid solvent, the concentration of the solution increases. So when the solid solute particles are dissolving in the liquid solvent, this process is known as dissolution process. What is that process is known as? Dissolution. So that process is known as dissolution process. So dissolution process means when the solid solute added to the solvent presenting in the liquid, some of the solid molecules are easily dissolved in that solvent. Therefore, the concentration of the solution is known as the increases. The concentration of the solution increases. The process is known as dissolution. And the next category, when the solid solute particles are entering into the liquid solvent, some of the undissolved particles are colliding with the dissolved solute particles. Therefore, the dissolved solute particles are, some of the undissolved solute particles are may be separated as separate molecules, that is known as crystallization. Crystallization. So this is the process of the crystallization. So what is meant by dissolution and what is meant by crystallization? Dissolution means when the solid solute added to the solution, the solid solute particles are easily dissolved in water. The process is known as dissolution. In case of crystallization means when the sum of the solid particles easily dissolved in liquid, but some of the solid particles are undissolved. The undissolved solute particles are collided with each other. They are separated another form, that is known as crystallization process. Therefore, when the solubility of the solid in liquid mainly involving two processes, that are first one is dissolution and second one is crystallization. When the rate of the dissolution and the rate of the crystallization is same, that process is known as dynamic equilibrium. That process is known as dynamic equilibrium. That state is known as dynamic equilibrium position. So at the dynamic equilibrium position, the rate of the dissolution process and the crystallization process is same. That means the number of solute particles entering into that solution and the number of solute particles are leaving and separated as separated molecules, that is known as both rates are same. Such process is known as established, that is known as dynamic equilibrium. Therefore, in the case of solubility of solids in liquids, mainly two phenomena are occurred here. First one is dissolution and second one is crystallization. So dissolution and crystallization. So I already mentioned in the previous slide, dissolution and crystallization. So at the same figure also we have to see here. So the dissolution and crystallization both are reached the same rate. The dynamic equilibrium established. So dynamic equilibrium can be represented by this symbol. So this is dissolution, and this is a crystallization. Dissolution and crystallization. So therefore, the rate of dissolution and the rate of crystallization both are same, then the dynamic equilibrium is established. Next one, Factors affecting solubility of solids. So what are the factors affecting in case of solubility of solids? So first one, nature of the solute and solvent. Nature of the solute and solvent. First factor which is involving in the solubility of solids and liquid means nature of solute and solvent. So for example, depending upon the nature of the solute and solvent, for example, I have to take here some of the examples like sodium chloride and potassium chloride. Sodium chloride and potassium chloride are easily dissolved in water. Easily dissolved in water. In case of sodium chloride and potassium chloride does not dissolve in case of benzene or carbon tetrachloride. Benzene or benzene formula means C6H6 benzene or carbon tetrachloride CCl4 or carbon disulfide. So in case of you are taking another components that are like so what are they like another components? So in case of sodium chloride and potassium chloride these are ionic compounds. Here water is, in case of take naphthalene balls, naphthalene or anthracene, naphthalene or anthracene. So naphthalene and anthracene does not dissolve in water. They do not dissolve in water. They also be dissolved in like benzene and carbon tetrachloride and carbon disulfide. So by observing all these examples, we have to clearly identify a common thing that is known as, come to the first case, sodium chloride and potassium chloride easily dissolved in water. Sodium chloride and potassium chloride dissolved in water. Sodium chloride and potassium chloride not dissolved in benzene, carbon tetrachloride, carbon disulfide. Come to the in case of naphthalene and anthracene. Naphthalene and anthracene not dissolved in water. Not dissolved in water. So in case of naphthalene and anthracene, they can be easily dissolved. They can be easily dissolved in benzene, carbon tetrachloride and carbon disulfide. Here common thing is polar solutes only dissolving in polar solvents. Here sodium chloride and potassium chloride are polar solutes. Polar solutes. So water is a polar solvent. Water is a polar solvent. So only polar solutes can easily dissolve in polar solvents. So here naphthalene and anthracene are non-polar solutes. Non-polar solutes. So non-polar solutes are only dissolved in non-polar solvents. Non-polar solvents. Non-polar solvents like benzene, carbon tetrachloride and carbon sulfur. So this is a common thing we have to explain here. Therefore, the solubility of solid and liquid can be depending upon the nature of the solute and solvent. By observing these two types of examples, we have to conclude that only polar solutes dissolved in polar solvents, polar non-polar solutes only dissolved in non-polar solvents. So come to the effect of temperature. Next point, effect of the temperature. So how the temperature can be influenced the solubility of a solid in liquid. So come to the first point. In substance, if a substance dissolved in nearly a saturated solution endothermically, its solubility increases with a rise in temperature. So the temperature also can definitely influence the solubility of a solid in liquid. Definitely influence. How the temperature influence? If the temperature influence means if the the dissolution process of solid in liquid, it is a endothermic reaction. Endothermic means delta H of the solution, delta H. Delta H of the solution is equal greater than 0. Delta H of solution greater than 0. So in that particular solution, endothermic means when the reaction is in progress, some amount of heat energy is absorbed by that molecules. Therefore, if the substance are dissolved in a saturated solution endothermically, the solubility definitely increases with rise in temperature. Endothermic means heat energy absorbed. Therefore, delta H of that solution, enthalpy change. Delta H means enthalpy change. Enthalpy change of that solution is greater than 0. When we are giving some heat energy, automatically the solubility of solids in liquids also increases. Therefore, come to the second point. If the substance dissolves nearly saturated solution exothermically, the solution, the solubility decreases with rise in temperature. So here, when the dissolution process is carrying on, therefore the reaction is exothermic reaction, that means delta H solution less than 0. Delta H solution less than 0. So what is meant by exothermic reaction? If the reaction is in progress, some amount of the heat energy is released, that is known as exothermic reaction. So therefore, exothermic reaction means if heat energy is released, therefore when the heat energy is released, then automatically the solubility of solids in liquids decreases. Solubility of solids in liquids easily decreases. So this is the effect of the temperature in case of the solubility of solids in liquids. So next to the next factor which influence the solubility of solid in liquid, that is pressure. So what is the effect of pressure? How pressure influence the solubility of solid in liquid? So come to the solubility of solid in liquid. For example, solid in liquid. So liquid we have to take water molecule. So this is the water molecule. So like sodium chloride dissolved in water. So when sodium chloride dissolved in water, here sodium chloride is a solid and water is a liquid. So how the pressure influence the solubility of sodium chloride in water? So here important point is here pressure do not show any effect on solubility of solids in liquids. Pressure do not show any effect. Pressure do not show any effect. Pressure do not show any effect in the solubility of solids in liquid. So what is the reason? So pressure, when we are applying pressure, the solids and the liquids does not undergo any compressibility. So the pressure only acting on the most probably gaseous, but in case of when we are applying pressure, the solids and the liquids. So this is a solid and this is the liquid state, solid state and liquid state. We are applying pressure. The pressure do not show any effect on the surface of the solids and liquids. They do not undergo any compressibility. So that's why pressure may not involve any reasons in the case of solubility of solids in liquids. Next, come to the next topic, solubility of a gas in liquid. Solubility of a gas in liquid. So second case, solubility of a gas in liquid. So how can the gases are soluble in liquids and what are the factors affecting? So first look at some important factors which are influence the solubility of a gas in liquid. First one, nature of the gas and liquid. Nature of the gas and liquid. So in that solubility of gas in liquid, liquid is a solvent and gas is a solute. Gas is a solute and liquid is a solvent. Therefore, the first factor is nature of the gas and liquid. So how the nature of the gas, which type of gases are easily dissolved in water, and effect of the solvent, that is liquid. Always we are taking water as a solvent. And the next factor is temperature of the liquid. Temperature of the liquid. How temperature influence the solubility of a gas in liquid. The solubility of a gas in liquid. And third factor is pressure of the gas on the surface of the solution. So this is the most important thing. Pressure definitely show an effect on the solubility of a gas in liquid, but pressure do not show any effect in case of the solubility of solids in liquid. But the major issue is here effect of pressure in case of the solubility of a gas in liquid. When gas is dissolved on the surface of the liquid, when we are applying some pressure, so the volume of the solution will be reduced. Therefore, the number of molecules which are present in that solution strikes on the surface of that vessel. Therefore, the volume of the solution will be decreases automatically. The solubility will be more. So, based on that principle, also in cool drink waters also some carbon dioxide gas is filled. When we are opening the cap of the bottle, some gases escapes out. So, based on the principle, therefore, pressure definitely show the effect on the solubility of gas in liquid. So, come to the first one. We have to discuss about the first case, nature of the gas and nature of the liquid. So, for example, if you are taking a live example, so in a beaker we have to take a little bit amount of water, here we are passing some oxygen gas or nitrogen gas or hydrogen gas, or oxygen gas or hydrogen gas. So when some of the gases are passing into the liquid, so what is the phenomenon occurred here? So for example, oxygen dissolved in water, nitrogen also very little bit amount dissolved in water. So when gases are passing into the water, the solubility will be depending upon the nature of the solute and solvent. So water is the solvent here, and these gases are act as a solute. If some of the gases are can easily dissolve in water, very well. If some of the gases cannot be dissolved in water. So how the concept we have to discuss here, the solubility of solids in liquid. First case also we discussed nature of the solvent and solute. Polar solutes only dissolved in polar solvents, non-polar solutes only dissolved in non-polar solvents. Here also polar gases are easily dissolved in water, non-polar gases are easily dissolved in non-polar solvents. So come to the first example for this one. Here oxygen, nitrogen passing into the water. These gases are solubility is very little bit extent. It is not much more solubility, very little bit extent. For example, if I take the gases like HCl gas or ammonia gas, these gases are passing into the liquid. So here water is the polar solvent. So come to the HCl and NH3, these are polar gases. So the solubility of HCl and ammonia is very much extent in water. So therefore their nature is HCl and ammonia both are react with water. So that is the concept. So when polar gases are passing into the water, that polar gases are more dissolved in the extent of the water. Therefore, what is the reason behind that? So these are all polar gases that are polar solutes can easily dissolve in polar solvents. Therefore, the reason behind like that, HCl and ammonia are polar nature. They are easily dissolved in water. They react with water. That's why the HCl and ammonia gases are more easily dissolved in water. So come to the in cases of take another example. Here take a little bit amount of water, much more amount of water in the beaker. Here we are passing gases like iodine and sulfur. So this iodine and sulfur we are passing solvents like carbon tetrachloride CCl4 or carbon disulfide CS2. So here these are non-polar solvents. So So these are non-polar solutes. These are non-polar solutes. So here, when non-polar solutes are passing into the non-polar solvents, these non-polar solutes are easily dissolved in non-polar solvents. Here iodine and sulfur are non-polar. So therefore easily dissolved in non-polar solvents like a carbon tetrachloride and carbon disulfide. So in case of iodine and sulfur, they do not dissolving in much more amount of water, because so these are our non-polar character, water having the polar character. So how the concept we have to applied in the solubility of solvent in liquid, non-polar solutes easily dissolved in non-polar solvents. Here also non-polar gases are easily dissolved in non-polar solvents, and non-polar solutes are easily dissolved in polar solvents. That is the same concept. And next factor which is influence the solubility of gas in liquid. So that is the effect of temperature. What is the effect of temperature? How the temperature influence the solubility of a gas in liquid. So take the same example. So little bit amount of water we have to take here, like HCl gas or ammonia gases are passing into the water. So effect of temperature means generally if the gas is passing into the liquid, any gas passing into the liquid, the solubility will be depending upon the nature, either polar nature or non-polar nature. So this is a very important point. And second case, when the gases are passing into the liquid, that means gases are dissolved in a suitable solvent like water. So this is evolution of heat. Therefore the solubility of gas in liquid, it is with some evolution of water, the evolution of some heat, That means when gas is dissolved in water, some amount of heat energy is released. Therefore, when the heat energy is released, the solubility of gas in liquid is increases. Therefore, when the solubility of the gas in liquid approaches the dynamic equilibrium, for example, solvent plus solute, both are dynamic equilibrium with the solution. So generally I mentioned very important point, the solubility of a gas in liquid is with evolution of heat, some heat energy is released. So therefore when the heat energy is released, the solubility of gas in liquid also increases. So therefore if the dynamic equilibrium is established between the solvent, solute and solution, therefore according to Le Chatelier's principle, the direction is so in case of first case, gas dissolved in liquid, that is in forward direction. According to the Le Chatelier principle, when dynamic equilibrium is established, the reaction changes back, that means progress into backward direction. Therefore that is an endothermic reaction. So evolution of heat means that is exothermic reaction. Generally gas dissolved in liquid, that is with a little bit amount of releasing of heat, that indicates exothermic reaction. So according to Le Chatelier principle, the dynamic equilibrium takes place, the reaction progress in both sides also, forward side and backward side. Therefore in backward side, according to Le Chatelier principle, that is an endothermic reaction. So endothermic reaction means it observing some heat, therefore the temperature increases. When we are heating temperature, due to the temperature, the gases are easily escapes out. If the temperature increases, the solubility of the gas in liquid will be decreases. What is the reason? If the gases have volatile nature, generally gases are evacuated, escapes out when we are giving some heat or temperature. So therefore, not only depending upon their nature, when we are supplying some temperature or heat, the gases are easily escaped. So therefore, in endothermic process, by giving some heat, when the temperature is increases, then automatically the amount of gases will be escapes out. And next factor is effect of pressure. So what is the effect of pressure on solubility of gases in liquids? So once look at the figure image, in that image, so this is a gaseous, this is a liquid solution, some gas molecules. So this is blue color solution indicates liquid. So these molecules are gaseous molecules, these molecules are gaseous molecules. So these are gaseous molecules and these are liquid solutions. So when gas molecules are passing into the liquid, when we are applying pressure, in the image one we are applying P1 pressure, some of the gas molecules are entering into the liquid solution. So in image 2 we are applying more pressure than P1, we are applying double pressure than P1, that is indicates P2. When we are applying more amount of pressure, due to that pressure the gas will be compressed and more number of gas molecules strikes on the surface of this surface of the vessel, and finally therefore here we have to identify that when we are applying more amount of pressure, more gas molecules enter into that liquid and the solubility is more. Therefore definitely pressure influence a great influence in the solubility of gas in liquid. When we are applying more amount of pressure, what is the phenomenon occurred here? When we are applying more amount of pressure in figure 1 and figure 2, P1, P2 pressure applied, more amount of pressure required, more number of gas molecules dissolved in given solid. Therefore, due to the increasing of pressure, the gas molecules will be more dissolved in the given solid. So this is the effect of the pressure. So come to the next one, Henry's law. So what is meant by Henry's law? So basing on that, the scientist named Henry gave the relation between the solubility of gas in liquid, the solubility of gas in liquid, the solubility of gas in liquid. I already discussed in that last slide the solubility of gas in liquid. When the gas is dissolved in a liquid, he defined the concept that is known as Henry's law. Henry's defined at constant temperature the solubility of a gas in a liquid is directly proportional to the partial pressure of the gas present above the surface of the solution. When a gas is dissolved in water, what Henry said that at constant temperature the solubility of gas is directly proportional to partial pressure of the gas present on the surface of the liquid solution. This is the first definition given by the Henry's, the solubility of a gas in liquid. So what is the statement? When the gas is dissolved in a liquid, the solubility of gas in a liquid directly proportional to partial pressure of that gas. So this is the first definition. He also stated another definition, the partial pressure of the gas in a vapor phase is directly proportional to mole fraction of the gas in given solution. He concluded, give another definition, the solubility of gas in liquid can be expressed in terms of mole fraction, that is nothing but partial pressure of the gas directly proportional to mole fraction of the gas. Therefore, partial pressure of the gas P directly proportional to mole fraction of the gas. Therefore, P gas is equal to xi gas. P gas is equal to xi gas. Therefore, P gas is equal to Kh into xi gas. Kh into xi gas. P gas is equal to partial pressure of the gas and xi gas is equal to mole fraction of the gas. Here Kh is equal to Henry's constant. Kh is equal to Henry's constant. So this is the definition about the Henry's law. So once you look at this graph, in that graph we have to see in that. So look at the graph once again. So in that graph we have to draw some important values. So for different gases, so if we are taking any gas like HCl gas or ammonia gas or hydrogen gas or nitrogen gas, we have to take different gases. For we have to draw the graph between the on x-axis we have to take the mole fraction of the gas, and y-axis we have to take the partial pressure of the gas. If we are taking any gas, for the given gas, we have to draw a graph between the values of mole fraction of that gas and the partial pressure of the gas, and finally we have to obtain a straight line which is passing from the origin, So this is a representation of a gas by the values of mole fraction and partial pressure of the gas. So come to the next one. Here, look at the image. Here I have to take some different gases. KH, Henry's law constant values. KH values are some gases in water at different temperature. KH values of gases different solvents at 298 K. At 298 K Kelvin temperature and different temperature values. Here once again different gases have different Henry's constant. For example, nitrogen gas at 293, its Henry's constant is equal to 74.48. For nitrogen gas at 298, 86.78. Nitrogen 303 temperature 88. For oxygen 293, 34. For oxygen 303, 46. For hydrogen 293, 69. So in case of hydrogen in water, solvent is different, water 71, benzene 3 point, carbon dioxide in water 1.67, carbon dioxide in benzene 0.11, methane in water 41, methane in benzene 0.56. So by observing this table, we can conclude two important points. What are they? Same gas, for example nitrogen gas or hydrogen gas or oxygen gas, same gases have different KH constant values in different solvents like benzene or water. Okay, same gas passing into the different solvents, they have different Henry's constant values. Okay, so this is a very important point about the graphical value. And finally, applications of Henry's law. We know that the applications of Henry's law, before we have to discuss the definition of the Henry's law and how can we graph the values of mole fraction and partial pressure of the given gas. We get the straight line which is passing from origin. So very important thing is the least soluble gas has KH is more. The gas which is soluble in very less, it has a greater Henry's constant value. That is a very another important thing for the Henry's constant values. Different gases have different Henry's constant values in different solvents. In case of same gas, we are passing same solvent in a different temperatures. It Henry's constant also different. That are main points regarding about the Henry's constant value and Henry's law. And finally, what are the live examples for applications of Henry's law? In regular life, this Henry's law can be used. So look at the first one. So look at the image. This is some persons, climbers are on the mountain. So when the climbers are passing, moving onto the mountain, at a high altitude there is not much atmosphere there. There is less volume of oxygen is present. For breathing purpose, the climbers are taken away with their oxygen cylinders. In that oxygen cylinders, they have oxygen mixed with the helium. Therefore, at the ground state of the mountain, the oxygen levels is very high. At the higher top position of the level, oxygen levels are very less. Therefore, for the breathing problem, they have to taken away the oxygen cylinders. So for breathing purpose, so this is about the Henry's law first application. When the climbers are if not sufficient, taken away the oxygen, if the oxygen levels are very less, therefore the person leads to the condition that is anoxia. So anoxia is a medical condition. If the person does not take the particular minimum amount of oxygen, some breathing levels are affected and the person undergo coma. Therefore, that condition is anoxia. That's why the climbers taken with away oxygen cylinders for breathing purpose. Come to the next image. This is scuba divers. Scuba divers are you are already seen in different movies, in Telugu movies and English movies. So many of these scuba divers are went into the depth of the sea. At the depth of the sea, is pressure level is very high. The scuba divers also taken away some oxygen cylinders. In that oxygen cylinders, so oxygen gas present, little bit amount of nitrogen, little bit amount of helium. These gases are present. So for breathing purpose, when they are taken away the oxygen cylinders, at the depth of the sea, the pressure levels are very high. Pressure levels are very high. Therefore, from that oxygen cylinders, the amount of oxygen, nitrogen, and helium, they swallow that all amount of gases. Therefore, at the depth of the sea, scuba divers swallow more amount of the gases. When they come back to the surface of the sea or ocean, the pressure levels are very less. Therefore, the how much amount of gases are absorbed in their blood, the gases are easily comes out. For example, in case of nitrogen which is present in air, this nitrogen also coming out slowly from the blood. It clotted some, it makes some clots in the blood, so that is known as the bends. That condition is known as the bends condition. What is that condition? Is bends. When the scuba divers come to the surface of the ocean or a river or anything, so therefore the amount of the gases which are dissolved in blood that are easily comes out, and therefore finally that nitrogen makes some clots in the blood and the blood vessels, therefore that condition is known as bends. And finally, last thing is cool drinks. In cool drink, many of the cool drink bottles are available. Take different types of minerals, and we are passing with that some carbon dioxide, bubbling of carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide easily dissolved in water. In soda water, that is nothing but carbonic acid. When carbon dioxide passing into the solutions, that is easily dissolved. So this is application of Henry's law. When the gases are easily dissolved in water, like water or any benzene, like that manner. So these are a live example for the applications of Henry's law. Okay, finally I recall what we learned in this video are. So first of all, we are making some problems regarding the concentration terms of the solution. Some problems are we have done here. And next one, concept of the solubility. In the concept of solubility, we have to discuss two types of phenomenon. First one, solubility of solid in liquid, and second one, solubility of gas in liquid, and factors affecting solubility of solid in liquid or gas in liquid, nature of the solvent and solute, effect of temperature and effect of pressure. And basing on the solubility of gas in liquid, we learned about the important law is the Henry's law. So Henry's law and conditions and Henry's constant KH. How can we draw the graph between the mole fraction values and pressure values? And finally, some live examples regarding to the Henry's law. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you to all.